Hello and welcome to the Dead Space 2 Chapter 1 Advanced tutorial. So if you're watching this video, you're probably either just finished up with the beginner route or you maybe wanted to start a little bit quicker, and so that's why you're here. So let's just get it straight into it. So one thing to mention early on about this route is that you're going to be needing an FPS toggling software such as Rivatuner or Bandicam. I personally use Bandicam, but Sharkcat87, who did the beginner route, uses Rivatuner. It is personal preference. Sometimes one of them can cause some issues with the game itself. I haven't had any issues with Bandicam personally, so I would recommend that. The beginning of this run is actually going to be very identical to the beginner route, actually, up until the table boost, if you remember. So if you've already watched the beginner route, then you can probably skip ahead about 2-3 minutes into this video where we get to the table boost. If you have not watched the beginner route, then keep watching. So we're just running through these halls right now. The first couple of minutes you saw in that first hallway, we're just avoiding the enemies as best as possible. We don't want to deal with any of them, stick around any longer than we need to. It's all about just getting to our destination as fast as possible. In this room, we're going to go around the left side. And now we're at the first cutscene. So I'll talk a little bit more about FPS toggling here. There are multiple different values that you need to set your FPS to. A couple of them, at least in this route, are going to be 19 FPS, 5 FPS, potentially 30 FPS if you don't want to turn on VSync. So Rivatuner is better for that because you don't have to tab out of the game and change your FPS value. You can only do that. You can only do 1 FPS value on Bandicam. But I think Bandicam is a lot more convenient and easy to set up. So it's personal preference, like I said. The downside about Bandicam is that tabbing out of the game can cause, if you haven't already experienced this, what's called gray screening, in which your game basically refuses to respond. There is a fix for that, but we're not going to be using it for this route because it messes up some skips. Anyways, same thing here for this. You're just going to want to come up to this locker, spam interact. And then once you open the locker, you're going to want to spam interact again to grab the flashlight. And then once you get the health pack, you can restore health and then grab the flashlight, and we'll be on our way.
Isaac Clarke, is that you? Who are you? My name is Dana. I'm the one trying to rescue you. Why? What's going on?
Another thing to mention soon is that I would recommend that you set a secondary bind for interact to scroll wheel. So I have a bind set. If you look at my my top left camera, I have a bind set on scroll up specifically. And I also have an interact bind on my E button on my keyboard. Alrighty, so first of all, we're going to do locator tutorial skip. So this is very simple. Once you get about to this blood patch, you're just going to hold down aim and then press B. And that'll actually skip you having to sit through that animation. You could also just walk up, and then once it pops up, you can tap aim and then B. That's a little bit faster, but if you want to do the one that Sharkcat does, he does hold. I'm going to show you tap, because that's what I do. So you run up, it pops up, I tapped aim, and then I also hit B after I tapped aim there. That's what I did in order to skip that. Alright, so coming to the table here, you've probably already learned about table boosts. That's where basically the table, you just run across this table, and we're going to run to the right. We're not going to do that for this one. What we're going to do is something a little bit faster. If you can't get this, I wouldn't really try this too long. You can just do that, the other one that Sharkcat does in the beginner tutorial. It's only about 2-3 seconds slower, and it's really not worth if you can't get it that much. So what we're going to do is we're going to run up to this table, and we're going to get onto the table to the left of it. And if you look and see, you see this dead guy right here. There's a wheelchair across. That's what we're trying to get to. So we're really just going to run on top of this wheelchair on top of that one. And I can't give you an exact angle for this. There is a tutorial that I will put for all of these skips in the description. We're going to run up to the table. See this guy, see that wheelchair. Just try and align yourself with it, and you'll get better with it over time. If you want to do it really fast, you don't have to align yourself at all. You just kind of like that. Alrighty. So, like in the beginner route, what we're going to do here is called flashlight duplication. Basically, it is a skip that allows you to bring up a past tutorial, which is the restore health, and we're going to press Q. This actually spawns in the flashlight. So whenever you press interact after that, what actually is going to happen is anytime that you're in a cutscene, it's going to actually skip that cutscene for you. You can do a bunch of crazy skips with this. It only works in chapter 1 though. So there's a cutscene right here, as you know. I've already pressed Q on the restore health. So I'm just going to run up. Once I'm in the cutscene, I press E, and I'm out of the cutscene. Okay, so now we're going to do it one more time. We're going to run up, restore health. Very important for this vent. You want to hit the vent, interact before you press Q. So don't press Q before you get in the vent, or before you open the vent. So I'm going to interact with the vent, and then I'm going to press Q. And then we're going to wait for interact one more time. It's important to note here in these vents, it is slightly faster to turn in one direction rather than both directions at the same time. So run all the way to the end and then just hold down one direction. That is slightly faster. Alright, and once we fall down at the end of this vent, we are just going to hit interact and then quickly checkpoint restart. I'm falling, hit E, and then just checkpoint restart after that. And that skips a small cutscene. It's not too big, but it does save time. It actually loses time for in-game, or sorry, for real time, because the cutscene loading animation, or the checkpoint loading animation is slightly longer, but since the route is focused on in-game time, we checkpoint restart there. Alright, now we're just going to grab one of these spears, shoot the glass, ignore this guy, and we're just going to straight to the elevator. If he follows you, you can kill him with this, and you actually can get a drop from him, but we're not going to do that. So you want to make sure that you heal up there. So this is where it's very important. So when you get in this elevator, I'm going to teach you cha-cha slide skip. When you get in this elevator, you want to stand in this corner with the door and the kind of edge right here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be what's called an elevator clip. And this utilizes 5 FPS. So it's very important that you have your toggle for 5 FPS on this. So we're going to put, when you're in this corner, we're going to put our mouse, see this gray line right here, above the blue interact panel. That's where we're going to put our mouse, our dot. And what we're going to do is we're going to interact with the panel using either E or scroll wheel. We're going to stomp twice immediately after doing that. And then after we stomp twice, we're going to run to the back of the elevator, turn on our 5 FPS toggle, and then we're going to run forward, and that's actually just going to clip us out of the elevator. Now, I will again have a tutorial linked in the description for this if you want a more in-depth explanation. But for right now, let's just go ahead and show you. So, stomp twice, back up, toggle, run forward, and you're through the elevator. Now, once you've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to look all the way down, and we're going to walk forward onto the elevator until our crosshair reaches the edge of this elevator, right, like that. And we're going to turn to the right until our dot is on this kind of corner right here, where this edge meets this edge. And we're just going to run back. And this is where what's called pause buffering or door diving comes into play. So if you remember earlier where I talked about scrolling and using that for interact, this is where it really comes into handy. So in order to door dive, you need to pause buffer really fast, like this. See how fast I'm pausing and unpausing? That's what you need to do. And while you're doing that, while you're unpaused, you need to have you need to be scrolling interact. So the way that we actually do that is if you have a free scroll mouse, it makes it really easy because you can just, scroll it once and it'll be gone forever. But if you don't, this is what we do. So we actually take our mouse, we have interact bound to scroll up, and we're going to flip it upside down on our desk and then kind of drag it like this, if you can see what I'm doing. Like that. And then we're just going to... I time it with my pause buffers, you see. like that. So now what we're going to do, we're going to aim here, unaim, run back, and then once Isaac kind of pops up there, that's when you can pause, and we're just going to do that mechanic that I just showed you. So pause on pause, pause on pause, pause on pause, pause on pause. All the while, I'm scrolling my mouse across my desk in order to get as many inputs through as possible. And that's going to get us to this door, which is actually the final tripod boss fight. We're going to run in here for a second until everything below us loads in, and we're just going to checkpoint restart, and that'll put us here. Now I'm going to show you how to do the boss fight without the plasma cutter. You can go back and get the plasma cutter if you would like, but that is slower, and I don't recommend it for this route, so I will be showing you how to do it without the plasma cutter. So we're going to go to the left side of this pillar right here, and then run to the right, and that'll get him to spawn in. Once you're available, just hold down left here, and then once you're available, turn around and to the left of this pillar. Alright, I would recommend standing in this boss fight as close to the door as possible. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using these kind of, panels that he knocked off of the pillar there, and we're going to be using them to hit each of his arms with kinesis. Each of his arms takes about 6 of these panel shots to get him down. And the easiest way to do that is we're just going to hit him. He kind of backs up, and then he comes forward again. I would recommend timing your shot, like with his left arm specifically, when he comes forward. So he backs up, backs up. Oh, I missed there. And then his arm is off. Now his right arm goes much, much quicker. I'm just literally just, backing him up here. Just, It does take a little bit of work to get used to the panel and how that all works out. Oh, there he goes. Once you're done with that, you can grab a drop here. You don't have to grab the schematic, by the way. That's not necessary. And then we're going to run down here. And in the beginner route, you didn't actually have to grab this money, but you do now. So there are 3 money drops in this room. There's one right here. There's one on the stairs right here. And there's one right there. I'm going to pick that up. That will give you above 2,000 credits, and that's what you need to buy the plasma cutter. You can't continue in Chapter 2 without the plasma cutter. Okay, and then we're just going to go to the store right in front of us. And we're going to hit interact once, and then this depends on how many of these items you have. I have 2. You see the refurbished plasma cutter and the hand cannon. You don't want to buy either of those, obviously. You want to buy just the normal plasma cutter for 2,000, and then you're good to go in Chapter 2. And that is the Chapter 1 Advanced Route Tutorial. Hope this helps.